What's going on, everybody? Captain Mike here. Got another great video coming your way today. First, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for stopping by to check out this video or to take a look at my channel. And I would really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the content we have here on this channel and all the great videos I've got coming out here in the near future. So thanks again. Now, on today's video, guys, I want to talk about my top 5 color schemes for crankbaits when targeting walleyes out on Green Bay. I know a lot of you guys had a chance to check out my last video when I talked about my 3 favorite crankbaits for fishing walleyes out in the bay. And if you didn't, I'll put a link right up here and in the description below as well. You might want to check that out. But as I said, today I want to talk about color schemes and my top 5 for fishing out on Green Bay. I'm also going to talk a little bit of how to pick the best color patterns when it comes to different conditions and different environments. So stay tuned, guys. We've got a beautiful day here, although I do see some clouds rolling in on us, but we're going to put this thing together and show you my top 5 colors for fishing walleyes on Green Bay. All right, guys, we're back. And as I mentioned, today I'm going to share with you my 5 favorite crankbait colors when it comes to targeting walleyes out on the Bay of Green Bay. But before I show you those baits, I want to talk real briefly on a few factors that I use every time I go out on the water to make sure that I'm picking the right color under the given set of conditions that we have or on the given day that we're fishing. First thing we want to look at is watercolor, or how much visibility we have into that water, or more importantly, how much visibility those fish have when they're in that environment. If I can see bottom, or if I can at least see down to the bottom of my skeg, I know we want to focus our color selections on patterns that are more natural, more realistic, and more of a true baitfish imitator. Those fish are going to get a great look at that bait as it comes through the water column. And what we want to do is be sure that there's nothing there that's going to tip those fish off that something's not right. So if that water's clear, focus on those more natural patterns and those more realistic looking baitfish colors. Now, on the other side, if it's dirty, if it's stained, we've got high water out there this year again, so we're going to have a lot of creeks and rivers overflowing into the bay. Or if it's just a long, sustained period of wind that churns up the whole system. Whatever it may be that makes that water dirty or off-colored, when we get those conditions, we want to focus on picking baits that are brighter or have a more aggressive color pattern, as I often refer to them as, than we would if the water was clear. Also, look for baits that have a high contrast color scheme to them. An example of this might be a Firetiger color pattern. Darker baits even that have bright spots on them or bright bars on them. Something that contrasts that bait in the water column really works well when the conditions are dirty. So keep it simple, guys. If it's clear, focus on more natural and realistic looking baitfish patterns. If it's dirty or stained, look for brighter baits or baits that have high contrast color schemes to them. Now, another thing I like to focus on is location and where I'm fishing. If I'm fishing shallow water, emergent weed beds, shallow rock reefs, I know that those fish are going to be most likely feeding in gobies, possibly some crayfish, any young of the year perch and other species of baitfish that probably have a little bit of a darker tone to them, a little bit of a darker profile, and I want to make sure my baits match that forage pattern as best I can. If I'm fishing deeper water, for example, or open water, or targeting suspended fish, that's when I want to go back to those more natural baitfish patterns, those more subdued patterns, you might say. Something that looks more realistic in what is most likely a cleaner water environment, but if nothing else, is matching the type of bait that those fish are targeting. It doesn't have to be that perfect match the hatch you hear about all the time. Just try to make sure that your color patterns are somewhat similar to the forage those fish are probably feeding on in the location that you're fishing. Last but not least, I like to look at the type of bait that I'm actually using. Now, this is something that just personally works really well for me, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but I think if you take it into consideration, it will help you put more fish in the boat this year, so I wanted to be sure I shared it with you. When I use baits that have a more subtle action, like a Berkley flicker minnow, and even at times a flicker shad when we're trolling slower, I like to use more subtle and more natural profiles with those baits. That subtle action just seems to go well with a more toned down color scheme. On the contrary, when I'm running a bait like the Selmo Hornet, which a lot of you guys know is one of my favorite baits for targeting walleyes during those summer months when the water is warm and those fish are aggressive, when I'm running a bait like that, I like to use more aggressive or brighter color patterns. It just seems like the more aggressive nature of that bait goes hand in hand with those brighter, more in-your-face type colors. As we mentioned, the Firetigers or the very high contrast baits, they work great with the Selmo Hornets. Some of it has to do with the fact that those fish are so aggressive and their metabolism is typically so high when I'm running that bait that they're attacking baits without much consideration to what they're actually looking like. If it gets near them, it's probably getting bit. So I want to give them the best chance they can to see that bait no matter what the conditions are. If you guys factor these three things in, you're going to make your color selection this year a lot simpler, and it's going to be a lot easier to pick the right color under the conditions that you're facing on that given day. All right, guys, now let's move on to my 5 favorite colors, as I mentioned, for trolling or casting for walleyes out on Green Bay. Now, what makes these colors my favorite is that they work in a variety of different conditions. Those clear water we talked about, that stained water, offshore, shallow water, that's why they're my favorites. So let's start with number 1 on the list, guys, and that, without a doubt, is the Alewife series from Berkley. You can find it in the flicker minnows, the flicker shads, and it really does a great job of producing fish in a variety of different conditions, from clear water to stained water. This is my first choice, if I had to pick one, for a great color scheme out on Green Bay. What I like the most about it is that it does extremely well in that open water, or that clear water, obviously, because it imitates a bait fish so well, but it also produces in that lightly stained to even somewhat stained water at times. It just gives out the right amount of flash and a combination of good colors that produces fish, as I said, throughout the season for me. This here is the slick Alewife color. It's got a little bit of a purple back to it with that chartreuse line down the side, and it probably is my first choice in the Alewife series if I had to pick just one. I really like the green Alewife pattern and also the blue pattern, which is another option from the Alewife series. If you use these 3 baits, these 3 color patterns in the Berkley flicker minnows or flicker shads, I guarantee you're going to up your catch rate out on Green Bay. Second favorite color pattern I have out on Green Bay is the Firetiger color. Now, this is a love-hate bait for a lot of people. For some reason, some people really struggle to catch fish on it, and for others like myself, we catch a lot of fish with it. There's something about this bait that when the conditions are right, it just produces a lot of fish. This is a bait that produces best in that stained water to lightly stained water, and sometimes even dirty water for that matter. I really like it in that shallow water down on the lower end of the bay, but I catch fish out in the open water at times as well. I do like it a little bit more, as I said, when there's color to the water, but at times, clear water environments, this will catch fish as well. This is also a great bait when the conditions are rough or when it's really windy. There's something about this color pattern that just produces well when there's a lot of sediment in the water because of those big winds or those long sustained blows. Keep this color pattern in mind whenever you're fishing stained water, dirty water, or especially when the conditions are rough out on Green Bay. The third color choice on my list is the Chartreuse Pearl series. Now, this is offered by Berkley in their flicker shad and flicker minnow series as well, but a lot of manufacturers, no matter what type of bait you're using, will offer some sort of color pattern like this. It's a bright chartreuse back with pearl sides. Oftentimes it has a distinct black dot on it like this that lets fish hone into it a little bit better. And this is another bait that produces well from clear water to lightly stained, even stained water at times. When it's clear and you're running this bait, it offers more of a pearl or a white profile to it, which works exceptionally well in those environments. Now, when it's dirty or there's a little color to the water, it seems as if that chartreuse tends to pop through that color a little bit and offers a good profile to these fish as it moves through the water column. This Chartreuse Pearl, I don't think it's used enough by most people, but it definitely catches a ton of fish out on Green Bay. All right, number 4. A purple Firetiger pattern. Now, this is kind of a generic term I'm using because every company seems to offer a little bit different terminology when it comes to this color pattern. But basically what it is, it's similar to the green Firetiger pattern we talked about earlier, except it's got a purple back, some chartreuse sides, and a pearl body, and it'll have some kind of bars on it as well. Sometimes you'll see a chartreuse belly or an orange belly on it, but not always. Whatever the case may be, this bait produces exceptionally well in clear water to lightly stained water and sometimes even dirty water depending on the conditions. What I like about this is you can run it alongside the green Firetiger and the fish will quickly tell you what color pattern they're preferring on that given day. This color is offered by a variety of different manufacturers. Like I said, this is an example in a Selmo Hornet, but most companies offer some version of this as well. Berkley also offers a similar pattern that has a purple back, gold sides, and some black distinct bars down it. Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter exactly what you call it, but find a color pattern like that and it will produce throughout a variety of different conditions out there. So last but not least, when it comes to color patterns out on Green Bay, is this one. It's called Stud Muffin. Yep, Stud Muffin. And I don't want to get into the name because it's just too easy, right? So anyways, this color pattern has a purple back, a pearl side, usually a chartreuse belly, and then those bright, distinct orange dots. Now, this is a perfect combination of a lot of different things we talked about earlier on. It has a high contrast profile, but it also has somewhat of a subdued nature to it with the pearl sides and that light chartreuse belly. This bait produces extremely well for me in dirty water and clear water, and it's why it's on my top 5 list. Now, the stud muffin pattern is only offered through Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops. It's basically an exclusive color for them. So those are the only 2 places you could pick this exact color scheme up. There are other custom paint manufacturers that offer something similar to this. So if you can't find it there, that is an option as well. But if you're looking for this one exactly, this is the stud muffin color, as I mentioned, offered by Bass Pro or Cabela's only. So basically, guys, that's it. Those are my top 5 color patterns for crankbaits when it comes to trolling for walleyes out on Green Bay. Now I know there's millions of colors and you can make this as complicated or as simple as you like. But I try to keep things as simple as I can when it comes to fishing because there's so many pieces of the puzzle that we have to put together every day. Consider some of the things that I mentioned earlier when it comes to watercolor, location, and the type of crankbait you're using. And give these 5 crankbaits I just mentioned a try, and I'm telling you, you're gonna put a lot of walleyes in the boat this year. Thanks again for watching, guys, and please hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on, and also like and comment on this video below. Let me know what your favorite colors are. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my color choices, and hopefully we can get a discussion on some of the best colors going out on Green Bay. Thanks again, guys. It's getting beautiful out here. I think I'm gonna put this boat in the water and go do a little fishing, and I'll see you guys at the next video.